Is there going to be a transcript?
I'm going to let Griselda answer that. It is an option to have
Perfect. Thank
Yes,
you.
I just enabled it.
Perfect. Thank
Very
you.
good, thank you.
I'm
Okay,
going
we
to
have
use part of this.
everybody in now. Like there's one more person in the waiting room. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Sorry for the short delay. We were talking all things technical. My name is Nancy Hastings, and I'm looking around this room, and I think that like 95% of you already knew that. I am a professor and assistant dean at the University of West Florida, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session. We are fortunate to have three folks here that want to present their research to us. Each of them is going to talk for 6 to 8 minutes at the most. And then after they finish, after all three of them are done, then we'll open the floor to questions. If you would like to be typing questions in the chat as the presentations go, so that you don't forget what you wanted to ask, by the time we get to the question period, that is certainly fine. We will be monitoring that. So with that, again, you heard the announcement, this is being recorded. If you have any concerns about that, you are welcome to turn off your camera or rename yourself. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first presenter is Nicole Forrest. And Nicole, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'll share my screen. I do have a little poster. It's on Adobe. I use Canva. Y'all can see that?
Yes.
Hands up. Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate this opportunity. My name's Nicole Forrest, and I actually just defended my dissertation on September 30th. So, you know, it's a long process, but you all get through it. And I'm finishing up my time at ASU. And that has been a tremendous experience. I'm not sure where you all are attending, but Arizona State University treated me very well. And I can't say enough good things about the program. Currently, I'm an assistant principal in a large district located in southeastern Pennsylvania. The title of my study was Supporting New Teacher Development and Examination of New Teacher Integration into Professional Learning Communities. I'm really going to try to make this quick. I had 30 minutes for my defense, so 6 to 8 minutes is quite short. So my study looked at how an innovation, the PLC orientation modules, could prepare new teachers to work with and integrate into their PLCs. And this innovation is something that I created. Within my district, there weren't any supports for new teachers to work with their PLCs. They were just kind of thrown into the PLC and expected to automatically work with them. But having been a new teacher who had to integrate into an existing PLC at one point, I recognize that that's not always easy for people, especially for our new teachers. So I wanted to create something to support the new teachers, which is where the PLCOM, the innovation, kind of came about. I examined how and to what extent does implementation of a PLCOM affect new teacher self-efficacy for and attitudes toward working in PLCs. And also, too, my second research question, how and to what extent does participation in a PLCOM affect new teacher self-efficacy and abilities as new teachers? This was an action research dissertation. So the study took place within my local context, which is quite large. I was able to get 18 new teachers to participate in the study in fall of 2020 during the pandemic. The good thing was that my innovation was intended to be virtual with asynchronous and synchronous opportunities. So COVID didn't really disrupt the implementation of my study. However, I do think it had an effect on the outcomes, which I'll get to in a minute. For the theory, I used legitimate peripheral participation, communities of practice, social cognitive theory. Let me just scroll this down a little bit so you can see that. Legitimate peripheral participation, communities of practice, social cognitive theory, and sociocultural theory to assist with the creation of the PLCOM, and I also used those theories to analyze the results. The innovation consisted of 4 modules and was housed on Schoology, which is our learning management system in the district. We reviewed PLC practices and district protocols for PLCs, including topics like communication and collaboration, data analysis and assessment, and MTSS, multi-tiered system of supports, which is similar to RTII, if you're familiar with that. The participants had opportunities to engage in discussion boards, reflections, and virtual synchronous meetings for each module. There were also some focus group interviews at the end of the study. My study was a mixed method study, and I had various tools, which I detail on this poster. Interestingly, I found as I was analyzing the results, I definitely preferred the qualitative data analysis over the quantitative, which could just be the English teacher and me coming through. But when I really started digging into my study's results and the literature and theory, I found a lot of comparisons that helped me answer my research questions. First, I found that new teachers were able to increase their self-efficacy for PLCs through engagement with the PLCOM, which was awesome. That's what I wanted to actually happen with the study. In the PLCOM, new teachers became familiar with the concept of a PLC and acquired the skills necessary to interact and engage with their peers. I gave new teachers opportunities to have mastery experiences, which echoes Bandura, within a safe learning environment guided by a more knowledgeable other, also echoing Bandura and Vygotsky. The PLCOM also impacted new teachers' self-efficacy for PLCs by providing a comprehensive learning experience that contextualized PLCs and replicated the dialogue that should occur within these communities. We in fact created our own community of practice, and that assisted their learning. The content, collaboration, and my role as the facilitator all worked in concert to increase new teacher self-efficacy and provide the support and guidance new teachers needed to be successful and feel empowered within their PLCs. And when we consider Vygotsky and Bandura and what they stated about the role of a mentor or more knowledgeable other, that really came to fruition with this study. Through my guidance and their own learning in the PLCOM, new teachers developed their voices in their PLCs, and gradually moved from the outskirts to fuller participation, which echoes Lavin-Wegner legitimate peripheral participation. The PLCOM also influenced new teachers' attitudes toward PLCs as they were able to gain an understanding of what these groups are supposed to accomplish. I defined the expectations within a PLC and gave new teachers collaborative opportunities to learn in a safe environment. Having the understanding around PLCs led some new teachers to feel confident in contributing to their PLCs by the end of the study. Additionally, the learning environment can largely influence one's attitudes toward a PLC. Wenger's theory illuminates that through social engagement, individuals in the community of practice can co-construct knowledge as each member of the group plays a part in developing that knowledge and really the identity of the group. Through collaborative efforts within new teachers' PLCs and the PLCOM, participants increase their knowledge of PLCs and their overall self-efficacy to engage with these groups. The PLCOM, which was a community of practice, had a positive learning environment which influenced new teachers' attitudes toward PLCs as they saw PLCs as a place to learn, grow, and expand their pedagogy for the benefit of their students. Now, for research question 2, the PLCOM did influence new teacher self-efficacy and abilities as new teachers, as their learning from the PLCOM transferred to other settings. And that's what I was trying to determine with this second research question. In particular, the specialists that took part in my study, so school psychologists in particular, they were able to transfer their learning to other groups as they did not have an official PLC. Many of the skills new teachers learned about in the PLCOM transferred to other collaborative groups as well, and even their own classrooms, especially considering data analysis, assessment, and MTSS, which were pointedly covered in the innovation. New teachers increased their knowledge around these concepts, which empowered them to apply them to their own contexts outside of PLCs. Again, they had the opportunity for mastery experiences guided by a more knowledgeable other within a safe, respectful, collaborative community, which aligns with the theory around learning. While the PLCOM was designed to specifically assist new teachers with their integration into PLCs, because of the collaborative and social nature of teaching, much of the PLCOM's content could be transferred to other settings and assist new teachers with their abilities as new teachers. Other interesting things I found include that COVID definitely had a direct impact on new teachers. And I think that really affected some of the feelings and experiences that they had throughout the study, specifically with feeling isolated and disconnected. It seemed like the participants really relied on any human interaction they could have, which included the interactions within their PLCs, but also the PLCOM, as we would meet on a consistent basis with the virtual synchronous meetings. I think I'm close to my time for the presentation, but I really look forward to answering any questions you may have, and thank you so much for listening to my presentation. And I will stop sharing.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicole. Again, if you'd like to put any questions in the chat window, that'll help us save them for when we get to that point in the session. So as you can see, I hate interrupting people. We didn't develop a good strategy for me to be going, hey, 1 minute to go. So I'll do my best to let you know through the private chat and so forth, but if you can watch your time carefully, that's really helpful. And with that, I will introduce our next presenter, Peggy Russell. Peggy has already shared her screen. Actually, I think someone's sharing it for her, but that's good. So Peggy, take it away.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nancy. It's great to be here on a Tuesday morning, rather, and I'm excited. 3 days ago, I had an opportunity, my family and I, to attend and walk with surrounding areas here in some surrounding communities here of other families that have been impacted with heart disease. And so on this walk, I was looking around and I saw all these families and I thought, wow, this huge group of people, someone has died from heart disease, had a stroke, and I myself have been impacted with heart disease. Not so much me, but my family, my parents. I both passed away with heart disease. I had a cousin that passed away from a stroke. And the reason I bring this into my presentation today is because the focus of my presentation is on heart wisdom. And I'm looking at students within the higher ed education that are in a 4-year accredited school that can give me an understanding of why it is that students at this age are lacking the virtues of empathy, respect, and compassion. And I link these two together because as I was walking, I saw that this has impacted a huge community, not just within my area, but globally. And I want to find out through my own research when conducting these interviews with these college students, and their ages are between 18 and older. The purpose, as I said, is to gather the information and to find out from them, what is it that they are lacking? What is it that they see? Did I lose my screen there? Mike, did you lose the screen? Nancy? There we go.
There we go.
Are we back? Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you, Mike. Anyway, what I want to find out from this group of students, and I'm using a diverse group. I'm using male and female, and I only want to I'm only conducting the interviews with students that are United States citizens, I should say. And in this here, if you can move down, Mike's son, I want to learn from them. And this is why I'm conducting the interview. This is a qualitative research study that I'm using in order to interview the students. Also, I will be using a platform, Facebook. Most people are familiar with that. After being approved from the IRB, and right now my IRB is in the hands of the Institutional Review Board. So I'm waiting for that information to come back if I've been approved for this particular study. So with this study, I'm going to, when conducting, I want to ask them I'm going to be asking about 8 questions to them in order to gain that information so that I can use within my study to gather the data that's going to be used in order to have the results of an analysis in which I'm looking for. Do I have anything else? And the other thing is with this study, with the study in which I'm using, I'm hoping that I will have the information of empathy, respect, and compassion, and how they see it, how they are perceiving it within the college setting. So a lot of times things are happening within the environments in which they are coming from, and how is that being impacted within the school setting itself. And toward the end of my conclusion, I'm hoping to be able to use the information that I've gathered, place it within a curriculum, and to move it forward into universities where they can use this to see what is it that students come with, what are they lacking, and how it can be implemented and incorporated within the college structure. So again, to end my presentation, I'm looking to gather the information from college students in the ages of 18 and over to find out what it is that how do they perceive hard wisdom, empathy, compassion, and respect within their schools, within their school setting and the experiences that they have received. So that ends my presentation for today. Thank you.
All right, Vic, thank you very much. And you did good, 6 minutes on the nose. And now we're going to move on to Michael.
Can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so my name is Michael Mutz. I am a graduate student at Fielding Graduate University. Peggy and I are battle buddies. We've been working really closely on our projects. So I had looked at a bunch of different dissertation projects, and what it came down to was, feasibility of the study. And so, as a personal thing, I will say I suffer from really bad anxiety at times. And so, one night I was watching a television show in which a young lady had a panic attack because essentially her parents were yelling at each other while they were in the emergency room. And so she had a panic attack. And so, a couple days later, I was in a meeting with my dissertation chair for Arrows and Peggy, and we were all talking about different projects we could do. And so essentially what it came down to was I wanted to understand the first responders' position on patient communication and how that can affect patient outcomes, specifically, hypnosis and, the effects of tone, the effects of word choice and presentation, how it affects a patient's outcome. And so what I did was I designed a study where the goal was to reach out to first responders and determine what their position is, because it's not widely published, especially in the first responder, EMT, paramedic realm. So I submitted everything, and my goal was to do a mixed method study. I am doing both interviews and I am also doing surveys. I got IRB approval last Friday, put everything into Qualtrics on Friday, and I am nearly at 300 surveys as of today. So it's been interesting. And then the interviews that I'm going to be conducting, I'm waiting until after the surveys are completed so that I can analyze that data before talking with people. Because obviously, when you're interviewing, it's good to know, at least have a little bit of insight. So my dissertation chair and I determined that it would be best if I waited until after the surveys were completed, so I had insight going into the interviews, because they're going to be unstructured. I will have it's semi-structured. I'll have a list of kind of what I want to go through, but also those results will help inform those questions. I also plan to interview, so I plan to be broad. I'm going to be interviewing EMTs, paramedics, a military corpsman. I'd like to get some experience or some diversity, so I want to be interviewing someone within the military. This morning, I also got clearance from the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma to interview one of their paramedics. And so, just having a little bit of diversity, reaching out to different organizations other than the standard. And so my goal is to get the information. And then my dissertation is going to include the results, the analysis, but also, share some of the barriers to what this would look like. The final interview I plan to, one or two interviews I plan to complete will be with paramedics, but also who are teaching the curriculum to those paramedics, so that I can understand the potential barriers to having that. Because with the results I already have, it looks like there is very little, even basic training on patient communication. So that is what I am researching, and I'm very excited. I've heard that I'm pretty lucky to get 300 responses in a couple days, because it's pretty hard to do that. But I was a former journalist, and just a tip for anyone who is working on stuff like that, if you ever need participants from the government, the Public Information Act and the FOIA is your friend to get contacts that you can reach out to. So it has been a very fun process. I've spoken already with a couple of chief of police and chief of fire departments who have sent it to their entire agency. So I've been very fortunate. Thank you. We can't hear you.
Well, we'll try that again. Thank you. Thank you to all three of our presenters. I'm going to ask Michael to stop sharing, which he just did. That's great. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is, we've still got about half hour left. We are going to ask questions, talk about this, learn a little bit from one another. There are two questions in the chat. Both of them are for Peggy. So I guess we'll start with those while you come up with some questions for Nicole and Michael as well. So Peggy, the first question there is, why only US citizens? Is it related to the concept of respect being different across cultures?
Well, I think that I think if I make it too global, I'll get too many probably voices, and I want to just kind of condense it down to just focus in on the students that are here in the United States.
Okay.
I would love to bring the net very wide, but I think if for me, if I stretch it too wide, I may get it too far, and I don't want to. I want to kind of keep it where it's a little bit more controlled for myself. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking.
Okay. And the other question that's in the chat for you, Peggy, is from Nicole. It says, I love that you are personally connected to your study. How do you think this personal connection benefits your study?
Well, heart disease is a disease that can be preventable because the medicine is there. So for me, I guess I'm a person that has compassion, has empathy, has respect. And for me, and I'll just kind of back it up a little bit to show you where I am today. When I first started in the program, I was kind of like all over the place, not really knowing what my study or research was going to be. And so my committee chair sat with me over Zoom and basically said, I kind of broke, because when I think of heart, I think of my parents. I think about compassion, I think about empathy and respect. So when I sat down with him, he says, Peggy, he says, stop, just breathe. What is it that you really want? And I was sharing with him, Mike was in that meeting too. And I said, I want to be aligned to my own values and my own basically virtues. And he said, well, you're talking about this heart wisdom. So when I came out of the old research that I studied, when I came into this that I'm in today and that I presented today, I was so aligned that everything that I was researching fell in place. And I am a believer that when you're in your own lane, you can't go after somebody else's dream or think that you're doing the right thing in your research. You have to find something that you do have compassion for. And I just happened to fall in place at the right time, at the right place. And would I love to have my parents back? Absolutely. But I'm more of an advocate and a researcher now. And when I look around me, I look for those particular elements. And for me, it just happened to work. And I'm so grateful, so grateful. But out on that walk, and I saw so many people that have been impacted by heart, but their family's been impacted by heart disease and stroke. So it was just another divine message for me that I'm in the right place and I'm doing the right thing for research. And in my research for this, for college students, there is the question that I'm asking is, what can I learn from these students? And in this, I can learn a lot. I'm one of those students that I'm a lifelong learner, and I can learn a lot. But yeah, heart disease, heart stroke, all that falls in place with my presentation and with my research. And so very glad to be a part of it. And I'm hoping that it will contribute to universities and the students that are going there. So thank you for the question. It was a great one.
All right, thank you. The next question we have is for Michael. Wants to know, what is your main target group?
So it's actually kind of ironic that was a question, because we had talked about this. The majority of individuals would assume that the purpose of the study was to, interview. So the interviewees are not the same as my target presentation group, because we are interviewing EMTs and paramedics to get their opinions and to share their opinions. But the goal is, and they're also, I guess they're technically also paramedics, but it's specifically to present something that the paramedic curriculum designer or college professor can implement. If there is a lack of patient communication, which it appears there is a lack of training in patient communication, then the goal is to get the opinions of the first responders and then turn around and present that in a way that the paramedic or medical director or college professor can look at and say, okay, we're lacking in this area, or how can we implement this, or what would the approach be?
Okay, thank you. I have one more question for you, Michael, and then I have a couple for Nicole here. For Michael, how did you go about getting permission from the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma for your study?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I gathered a lot of my contacts through various FOIA requests, Public Information Act requests, and essentially what that looks like is you have a lot of rights people don't know exist, and so you can apply with the government to get information that is not exempt, and there are very few exemptions: classified information, confidential information, etc. So what I did was I initially had reached out to, I would say, probably every executive branch department that exists. I sent emails asking, even the ones that I didn't think would have it, just to see if I could get it. And so what happened was there was a list of EMTs and paramedics that was sent to me. And then also for the state of Florida, they actually have their EMT paramedics publicly available. You can download the list on the website. You can see their emails and phone numbers, etc. With regards to the Cherokee Nation, it was actually ironic because it was a response to a FOIA request that I had gotten from the Department, was it the Department of Interior, or I'm trying to remember. It was one of the agencies by the executive branch. They had sent me back a list of the contact information for, there was like 150 to 200 Native American tribes. And I actually happened to be Cherokee Indian. So I had reached out to them and essentially spoke to the library. And then I had gotten responses from a number of agencies, but also wanted me to go through their IRB process, which is going to be lengthy. the Cherokee Nation's library team has worked with me, and they said that they have a small group of paramedics. And so it kind of just evolved into something I'm going to be sending them in the next few days.
Okay, thank you. I have two more questions for Nicole, and then we'll open it up and see if anybody wants to verbally ask questions or if anything else comes into the chat. So Nicole, the first question is, have any changes been made to the initial PLC induction following or due to your findings and conclusions?
Yes. So, and this is, and thank you for that question. It's probably the most exciting part of my study is, and for any study really, because you want to know that you've had an impact, that you've actually made a change, and that what you create or what you write just doesn't sit on a shelf, that something comes of it. So within my district, we've done a few things. This past summer, while I was still kind of analyzing my results, the director of teaching and learning here, who was also on my committee and kind of saw the process unfold and everything, she asked me to lead something similar to the PLCOM, but really condensed for all of our teachers, not just new teachers, to kind of recalibrate expectations. So I conducted a 3-hour professional development opportunity for our teachers in the district. And I got, I think, about 40 to 50 total participants in that, which is incredible. And then more importantly, for new teacher induction this year, I created, again, a very condensed version of the PLCOM, only like a 1-hour module, but still my studies being taken into consideration. The district is considering my research, and I was able to create that and implement it for all of our new teachers this year, just to help them get acclimated to PLCs. So I've definitely been trying to disseminate my research, and I'm very grateful to be in a district that's open to my study and my findings. And I'm actually working with the director of teaching and learning and another principal in the district, and we are trying to kind of extend this not just to new teachers, but also administrators, because administrators are at all different points with PLCs and what they think their role is in these communities. So we're trying to recalibrate and reimagine PLCs. So we're doing some rebooting of that with our administrative team. So.
Okay, great. And then the next question, again, this one's for you, Nicole. It's a great question. You specifically labeled your study as an action research study, and you used the language of problem of practice and DIP. How do you see that your study is different from a traditional 5-chapter dissertation in terms of activities, purposes, as well as results, their use, and write-up and dissemination? So there's a lot packed in that question.
Yeah, I'll do my best to answer it. Well, having written and taken part in the action research process and not in the traditional dissertation, I guess I can't speak too much about the traditional dissertation because I don't have that experience. I can just speak to what I've experienced. And I mean, for anyone who knows anything about action research, it's about making an impact to your local community. You're a practitioner, you're the expert, and you are actively involved in the study. And that's something that I acknowledged throughout my dissertation. And as a social constructivist as well, I realized that my interpretation of my findings, my interaction with the participants, it's all, you know, we all have our own views and perspectives, and mine definitely influenced my study. So for action research, starting at the beginning of the program, we identified our problem of practice and went through the cycles of action research. I went through a reconnaissance phase. I did a cycle 1, cycle 2, where I tried out my innovation and got some feedback from participants, from new teachers, and I actually used that feedback to improve the PLCOM, my innovation. So I think going through that process, going through the action research process, strengthened my final results and my ultimate study. So, and then with the write-up and dissemination, I know you're not traditionally in a dissertation supposed to use first person, but I do use first person. I am in the paper. I'm actively in the paper, and it's something that I acknowledge and accept. And, I know there's controversy about action research, and I think that's somewhat abating a little bit. But still, I think it's a valid form of research. And in all honesty, I'm a huge advocate and think everyone who's a practitioner should try this approach, because it's the way you can truly make an impact to your local community.
Okay, thank you for that. We have just a couple more questions that have popped up here. Michael, do you have any experience with the Cherokee Nation? You might have already answered that because you did mention that.
I can touch on it very briefly. I do. I am being extremely careful. And I will say this too, just as a part of my study, I have made it a point. So for the Cherokee Nation, I am going to send them the link to the survey and allow them to complete it. Also for EMTs and paramedics, I know plenty of people in the military. I have walked a very fine ethical line. I want to make sure that my bias is staying out of my personal relationships with individuals that might participate. So that was the purpose of not interviewing anyone that I potentially have a connection to. So with regards to the Cherokee Nation, yes, my family has a long history in the Cherokee Nation. I have made it a point to communicate with them in writing via email, and obviously once I submit the surveys, it will be sent to them directly without any kind of direct contact from me, just so I can avoid that improprietary potential conflict of interest.
Very good, thank you. For the presenters, all three of you, if you haven't been following along in the chat, you might want to take a look at, there are some very nice comments about the impression of everyone regarding your work, and looking forward to hearing more from you and so forth. So just want to make sure you see that. In the virtual world, you don't necessarily get a round of applause, but you deserve it. Do we have any other questions? And again, you can put those in the chat, or you can ask them verbally. That's fine too. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no, but I'm going to say we're going to wrap up just a few minutes early, and that's not surprising because we were short a presenter. But I want to thank our three presenters, and I also want to mention that all of the posters, these posters plus the others that are being presented in other rooms right now and throughout the day today, are available in GatherTown. So you can use, and Lee will put a link in our chat that'll take you directly to the poster room in GatherTown. If you don't use that link and you just happen to be in GatherTown, walk all the way to the back of the big room. And on the left, you'll see a room that's where the posters are. You can go in, walk up to those tables, view the different posters from this group and from other groups. So I definitely encourage you to take a little time to do that between sessions or later in the day or even later next week. My understanding is GatherTown's going to be available to us for the entire month. So you have that opportunity. And of course, we have our presenters' contact information if you have additional questions or want to learn more about the impact of their studies as they move forward. So we will wrap up here. Thank you very much, and have a great conference.
Thank you, Nancy.
Hey,
Thank you,
Nancy,
presenters. Nicole.
yes, thank you as well for facilitating.
Thank you.
Yes, this was great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Best
thank
of
you
luck
so
to
much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Griselda, I guess it's back to you.
Yes.
So,
Okay, I will go ahead and just end the meeting, and that will end the recording.
all right, thank you.
Have a great day.
You too, bye-bye.
Bye.